We are back with Creativity is Secure. I am your host, Malcolm Moore, and today I'm with my friend Armando Gallo, who is an amazing Italian journalist, photographer, and book publisher. How are you doing today, Armando?
Oh, I'm great, man. Really, really good. Thank you, Malcolm, for coming by here.
What is your first creative memory? I can think of a thought and execute it and bring it to the real world.
Oh, it came up straight away in my mind. When I was 11, we moved from, my family moved from Venice to a little place near Rome. And when I was 11, we moved into Rome. And it was the first time I was in a city with cars, and it was total confusion to me. It was like, we're talking about Venice, right?
Yeah.
And going to Rome. Oh, well, the big difference, So I saw people selling stuff in the corners of streets,
Yes.
We're talking about now 1955. Okay. Italy still recovering from the war. So I had my collection of comic books.
Yes.
I put them together, I bound them all together. Made a cover, all right? And I went down the street to sell.
Yeah.
My mother saw me. She was coming back from the market, So what are you doing here? Get back home,
You're like an entrepreneur already.
Yeah, I know. Can you believe when you ask me the question, now it makes me realize I became a publisher later on in life.
Right away.
And I did the Genesis book that I did, the first Genesis book. I did a cover, I did a leather-bound edition.
Yes.
You are creating, you don't even realize you are creating, but I think you're creating every time you become curious and every time that you have the courage to do what comes in your mind,
Yes. So how did you get into photography, and what kind of camera was your first camera?
Oh, I got into photography again when I was 11, There was a period when I didn't go to school.
Yes.
Because at the time you could do the 5 years of elementary school. And then you have to do a special exam that I didn't do. So I had to wait for the next year, but in the meantime, I got myself enrolled to a priest school, that if you were amongst the top 3, you wouldn't pay monthly fee.
Wow.
It was a boarding school, okay? Not far from my parents. And then I realized that what they were trying to do, they get all these people, and then they start brainwashing you to become a priest. In my case, they wanted me to be probably because I was adventurous. Maybe they got me on writing to a missionary from Terra del Fuego.
Yeah,
I know. So, but
so it was a Catholic school,
of course.
Yes.
We're all Catholic in Italy. I mean, even the Jewish people are Catholic, man. Just ridiculous.
So they wanted you to be like Robert De Niro in The Mission, maybe.
Oh, that would be great, yeah. No, but then my dad realized what they were doing. He took me out, and then the first little girl that you get, you surrender to passion, and then what do you mean we can't touch each other, but you go to confession, you're a little boy, and you go, and the priest goes, did you touch yourself? I said, what the hell is this about touching yourself, So, but it was very bad. We can go 30 years later. Mm-hmm. I'm in Jamaica. I'm coming in the room where I have to do an interview with Bob Marley. He told me, so you from Italy, man? Yeah, I'm from Italy. Do you like the Pope? I said, no, man, I hate the motherfucker, I said, and I tell you why, I said. So I told him why. I tell you about me. I said, I went to school with Catholic priests and stuff like that. And, and he said, the problem with Catholic religious, man, is that they keep you so afraid of hell that you never see the sky. And as he did that.
Wow, I love that.
And as he did that, I looked up, and I saw stars. There was, but that's another story.
Yeah, that's a beautiful memory. Okay, so what kind of camera did you have first?
The first camera that I had was an Olympus. Mm-hmm. It was a pocket camera. I'm talking about 1965.
Yeah.
All right. It was, my father gave it to me.
Yes.
Because I was going to the army, so you can put it in your pocket, you can take pictures, And it was a special camera. It kind of was a point and shoot, but we didn't have point and shoot. This was like a something kind of new, you know. Plus, in a roll of 36 poses, 36 frame, it would take 72 shots, meaning that it was using half of the frame.
Yes.
Right. Which was fantastic because I could do all these pictures. And then encouragement again.
Yes.
You go to, there was this, photo shop that he probably saw me that I was taking good pictures, you know, and, he said to me, listen, I'll give you the film for free. Do you take the pictures? And then, when I see there's 2 soldiers, I take you two prints. We see 3 soldiers, I take you 3 prints.
Oh, okay.
And then you sell them.
Yeah.
And then you pay for the prints, you know?
Yeah.
And that's what was happening. So every 10 days used to get paid very, very little.
Right.
You couldn't even get a meal, you know. But I was making all this money with photographs because everybody wants to have the picture to send back home.
Yes.
Or to send it to the girlfriend, you know. And then I used to take everybody to where I was at the border of Yugoslavia at the time.
Okay.
And they make wines and it's a great place to grow fruits, vegetables, stuff. And the farmers, when they had a wine to sell, you know, they would put a branch which was called frasca in Italian. So when there was the frasca, this means we could go there, pay for the wine, and eat whatever they gave you to eat. And usually would be a huge pasta, or would be pasta and fazool, you know, beans and pasta, you know. So you drink the wine, the wine, and then you eat that, you know. And then the money I would make, I would take my friends, you know, to eat.
Yes.
To eat, to drink. That's what I learned, to drink and to smoke, and to swear. Yeah. That's what you do if you go in the army, right? Then I lost that. I got them in Malta, and I got it stolen. And then I needed a camera. So I stopped this, Japanese tourist. There was, talking about 1969, 70,
right,
okay?
Right.
And they were the first Japanese coming out on a package tour.
Okay.
You know? I used to see every now and then it would be 30 or 40 or 50 Japanese going very, you know, kind of, they were scouring the road, you know, crossing the street, really very, very intimidated, you know?
Yes. And
kind of looked always scary. But everybody had a camera. Right. And so I stopped this guy, and the friend could speak English. So I said, "Can you sell me your camera?" Because we going back to
you walk right up to him.
you go back to Japan, you can get another camera, but here they're very expensive, you know. So, but 2 days later, I gave them my address. They came.
Oh.
The friend that could speak English, and I bought a Nikkor mat.
Okay.
Was Nikon of they sell in Japan. Yeah. Nikkor mat for £20, and that's when I started taking pictures. That was exactly the time when the Italian magazine I used to work got a new editor-in-chief, you know, and he told me I don't want anything anymore about the Beatles or the Stones. I give you carte blanche to find all the new bands coming out of England.
Okay.
That's how, in a way, to cut a long story short, you know, that's how I discovered Genesis.
Can I ask you, how did you get your film developed back then? Did you drop it off, or did you actually go in a dark room yourself?
I did both. I used to shoot in color slide.
Yes.
The very first film that I did for the interview, and then I did it in color prints, and I sent the undeveloped film with the story to Italy, and they told me never send the film undeveloped, you know, and never shoot prints. You have to shoot in color slides.
Okay.
And so, and then I discovered color slide is very good because after 2 or 3 hours, you have the results and you can see them. And so what I used to do, I used to cut the one that I put them in a frame, you know, because was expensive to get it. So I'm talking about, I'm a kid from in 22, 23, 24, which is like a kid of 15 now,
Yeah.
So, and I am a foreigner. I am dealing with English people that are very snobby, and
Right.
at the time you could see they didn't like foreigner. Plus I was Italian, and Italy was in the war against England.
Right.
There was still these incredible memories,
So you felt like an outsider.
Plus I was very shy as well.
Right.
Because I was in a new country,
Right.
it's not there that they help you because you're Italian. When I came to Los Angeles, everything was changed because people loved me because I was Italian.
Yeah. The other way around.
Yeah, I said, this place is amazing, I came here with an Italian rock band called PFM,
Okay.
Premiata Forneria Marconi. They were in the charts. They were on the same label of Manticore, same label of Emerson, Lake and Palmer.
Oh, okay.
And I came with them on tour here, and I was acting as a public relation on tour. Because at the time, talking about 74, the concert were always at 3 or 4 bands, and everything was done through live concert promotion.
Okay.
And radio interviews. So that I would arrange all the radio interviews, and wherever we went, there was always someone, a regional guy from the record company, I would get the stuff in advance, find out the radio station there, and then I would get the local papers. People went crazy, for Italian, groupies. They never met an Italian musicians, right? When I went to see, Almost Famous.
Right.
Almost Famous was just ridiculous. Oh my God, this is.
What do you mean? What do you mean by that? Wasn't
lots
realistic?
Yeah. It was very realistic.
Oh, it was
It was,
The Cameron Crowe.
I mean, there were the groupies that came. They were really groupies. There were girls that really loved music, and they would come, and they would do anything for you, And being Italian, they would go nuts. Because,
so you found the right place to be.
Yeah, yeah.
Were your parents creative, and do you ever find yourself saying, "Oh, I got that from my mom. I got that from my dad"?
Yeah.
Identity-wise.
See, that's my father. My father was a painter.
Oh, wow.
And
that photo of him right there. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is the Man and Science.
Yeah.
This one did in 1964 when he had an exhibition there, and the minister. He was working also the Minister of Defense,
Yes.
But working Minister of Defense, you go to work only from 9 to 2, So and the Minister of Defense was Andreotti, who never went in the army, So he came to the exhibition and he pointed at this one and said, "I'll have this one." But my father never gave it to him. I have it here. And then...
So after 2 o'clock, he had time to paint.
Yeah. That's Echo Park.
Oh, okay.
From with morning light, every 10 o'clock in the morning, he would go there and paint. This is Lucretia Avenue.
When were those done, those paintings?
1981, 82.
And what about your mother?
My mother was a great energy, great spirit, amazing cook. She would never mix garlic with onions, for instance, because garlic has its own taste.
You gotta separate.
You don't want to bastardize the
right.
And onions the same, So when you make a plate of some spaghetti sauce, you fry very, very low heat the garlic in olive oil or the onion.
Yeah.
You don't put onion and garlic together. Come on.
Gotta keep
Don't
it
be
pure.
American. And so, for instance, the basil, you cook the pasta, not totally, but last 2-3 minutes, you cook it with the sauce and the basil comes in, and as the sauce gets into the pasta, those 2-3 minutes, even the basil gets all the flavor, So these are things that you see when you are a little boy,
right.
And you are standing and your POV is on the table, and you could see everything. And my mom was just incredible with that, and incredible love for the family, and. So
very creative in the kitchen too.
Yeah, and in running the place, because my dad being an artist, he just wouldn't do shit,
Yeah, you had a very creative environment to grow up in.
Yeah.
Do you think creativity could help people that are suffering mental health struggles like depression, anxiety? Do you think any part of the creative part of the brain or getting into music and art, do you think that can help people that are struggling?
Yeah, I think music helps. Music is just incredible, when you wake up, just put some music on.
Yeah.
Just we have this incredible friend. It's called Siri, right?
Yeah.
And you wake up and you would like to hear, Bob Dylan or John Baez or the Beatles or the Stones, and you just Siri, play me Bob Marley, and Bob Marley comes on, so you brush your teeth and the music, and now it's so great and easy now that so music is one, and then if you have a little space to grow some stuff, in California you can grow pot now.
Of course, things have changed.
It's a beautiful plant to grow, really, and but you can transform. My front garden here was all grass.
Yeah.
And I put this organic soil containers, and I can grow all my vegetables there and herbs. And
I love that it's when I got here, your house was beautiful, but the garden in the front gets you right away. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's kind of wild, It's
got a little skull there too. Beware. I like that.
Oh yeah. Oh, that comes from Halloween. We left it there.
Oh. I got to know your work, like I was telling you earlier, when I was a little boy. I got into Peter Gabriel when I was about 8 years old, so that was 1978. And then it was so hard to find stuff back then. There's no internet. And then, years later, when you put out your Genesis book and your Peter Gabriel book, I just got sucked in because that was the only window into this music that I loved, other than maybe occasional magazine. But, when I was younger, there's only 4 stations on TV. And other than MTV, I could never see those guys because of that. And I feel like I grew up with your images. So let's go back. How did you get into that band, and when was the first time that you saw them?
Well, going back, there was this amazing phone call from Rome, about writing. Now, I was writing 10 articles a month, and about all new bands.
Right.
So I remember the first band that I wrote about was a band called Rare Bird. Mm-hmm. And they were number one with a song called Sympathy.
Okay.
And they were on the Charisma label.
Right.
And the Charisma label was an independent label founded by Tony Stratton Smith.
Yes.
He was a manager that I met maybe 3 years before, when I started being a journalist. With the first article that I got published, I went to EMI and I said, "I'm an Italian journalist. Can I interview the Beatles?" And so I was in the reception there. I saw this girl. She was beautiful and blonde, and she smiled at me. And she went upstairs, and she came down with another woman, and she was head of the international department. And so there were these bands that they were available for interviews, and one was the Creation and the Cubas, these two bands. And Tony Stratton Smith was the manager of the Creations, And so that's how, it's strange, isn't it? That's one of the first managers I met in London. And then 2 years later, he started Charisma Records with Rare Bird.
Okay.
First single. And they didn't have any. Gail Coulson told me they had no money, but all of a sudden they find out that Sympathy by Rare Bird is selling like crazy in France.
Wow.
It sold 2 million copies, I think. That's what put some money into Charisma to create Charisma Records, So it was very easy to write about all the Charisma because they were all good, because Tony Strato Smith gave them total creative freedom.
Artistic freedom, yeah.
He would screw them on their royalties, but quite right. So because he would give them maybe 2% royalties,
right.
But then he would give them 10 or 20 pounds a week to survive and write music, And so I was very affectionate to that, And Rare Bird had heavy organ, very keyboards, and I love that because being Italian,
yes,
we grow up with operas and classical music, and the La Canzone, the songs, in Italy, they all come from operas,
Yeah.
Even the pop songs that are now, they're all connected. And the Sympathy was one of these type of songs. And
Right.
when I heard Genesis, I thought, my God, they could do well in Italy.
And were they on Charisma at that point?
Yes.
Or? Okay.
They got Charisma in fact, this phone call that I had was the same month that Trespass came out.
Okay.
And at that time, I used to love also Van der Graaf Generator.
Yes.
There was this song called Refugee.
Right.
The Refugee, if you think about it, is like a little opera,
Yeah.
And so writing about this, I had access to Charisma people, And the first time I saw Genesis, because I went to see a concert at the Lyceum, and Van der Graaf Generator was headlining.
Okay. So they were opening up.
They were opening up. And I thought, fuck, what's this band, Right. And they were very, very interesting. In the book, I described this moment. It was my birthday in 1971.
Okay.
And, or 72. Now, anyway, they were very shy. Very introverted. Yeah. There was no energy coming through until the end when in fact, I described it was like they were playing behind the goals, an invisible goals,
Yeah.
And, but then when the last number was the knife.
The knife, yeah.
And when Peter was doing the knife, he moved a little bit like Jagger when he picked up the
microphone.
The microphone and the actual stand of the microphone.
Yeah.
And he moved forward and it looked like he was cutting these goals, and the energy just went out into the audience.
Wow.
And back to the stage.
Yeah.
At the time we were at the Lyceum, everybody was sitting on the floor.
Right.
Okay? It was like, I describe it like the festivals happened also in the winter because people used to go to the Lyceum.
Right.
And they had all these big, old carpets,
Sit on,
and they would lay on the floor, sitting down. But then with Genesis, I noticed the way people just popping up.
Yeah, they got excited.
Whoa!
Yeah.
And I described them like a cork of champagne. Steve Hackett, we used to call them the idiots. But that's how
at that time, Phil was the drummer finally, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And Steve just joined the band.
Right.
And finally, they got booked for Italy.
Yes.
We all connected to people, I was the only person in England, and
Right.
I became kind of legendary. I was the only person that was right directly from London,
Right.
And so everybody would come to me to know this, that, and the other,
To learn about the bands.
And Maurizio Salvatori booked 3 Charisma act.
Okay.
He booked Van der Graaf Generator, Audience, and Genesis.
Right.
So at that point, I had to do an interview with Genesis to introduce them to the Italian audience,
Right.
And I went to see them in a rehearsal room. And in fact, the press office of Charisma was Glenn Colson. He was brother. And he was very good he was like an artful dodger, and he said, oh, that's the bleeding eye here. Send him. So he thought to send me to this crappy place where the band was rehearsing, right? And it was traveling to the east side of London in a place called Plumstead, and they were rehearsing in this horrible place. It was half burnt. It was a club called the Inferno, and it got burned maybe 2-3 months before. And but there was one room still.
Yeah,
they could get bands to rehearse there for little money, probably, and that's where I saw them playing. Actually, I went there for an interview.
Right.
And they took 12 o'clock. They took time to have some lunch. We went to this coffee shop with a round table, and I had everybody there except Phil.
Right.
That's when I did the interview with them. When Peter said "This is all lies. We starved to death. We do," and
the beginning.
So I straight away, I like Peter for the first. Really, he was the more interesting person,
Yes.
Because he would look at you like always worried, and he would talk. He would never come up with the words straight away. Like Tony Banks was just very, and Mike also. Mike, he would eat his words. I could never understand him, but I used to record this. So, and
so, are you saying that Peter would think about what he had to say?
Yes.
Take a moment.
Yes, and I could see that this passion, and it looked like the music they were playing was like life and death,
Mm-hmm. A matter of life and death.
Yeah, a matter of life and death. That was coming mostly from Peter,
Right.
And then he had this long hair, and he had this coat that was like a coat taken from his grandfather or something like that, And then on the way back, Phil arrived, and he had all the music papers that came out on that day. Must have been a Tuesday.
Oh, like the Melody Maker and all, Enemy and all that stuff.
And he said, "Oh, I didn't know. I didn't know you. I would have gone. God." And so I'm trying to take some pictures. There was a brick wall. And I'm taking the pictures, and Phil is going, "What the fuck? Look here. There's nothing," because usually the first 2 pages, there would be all little news.
Right.
God, we got a guy from Italy here, and in England they don't even find the place. You never find the Genesis.
Not a mention.
In fact, there's one of the pictures that it's him looking at the papers to Mike.
That one, yeah.
And I think he published that picture in his own book.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And when he said Armando is still
right.
a friend,
Yeah.
And we look so boring. But that was my style as well, to take pictures. I always used to take pictures after an interview, and or if I went to a sound check, and because I had a photo pass, that during the sound check I would take some incidental picture that,
right.
in my mind, was like an extension of body language,
Right.
And
I mean, the camera was an extension of your body. That's what you mean.
No.
Yeah.
The picture I would take, I would try to take pictures. I remember taking a picture of Steve. Yeah. He was always busy going. He was so doing all this guitar, and then he was changing all this. And I remember taking a picture while he was changing his strings.
Yeah.
In a way, I some graphic designers I met throughout the years. They thought they can recognize my pictures anywhere.
Yeah.
Because I never studied photography.
Right.
All I did, I wanted to know how prints were made.
Yes.
So I went to Dixon, which was like a Radio Shack of England,
Right.
And I bought all the material. And it was a projector.
Right.
And then all the little things to develop.
Right. And the fixer and all that.
And so I developed a black and white film. And then I put him through the enlarger,
Mm-hmm.
and put the paper, and then put the paper into the liquid,
Wow.
and so I must have spent the entire night,
Developing all these.
Yeah, and I realized it was fantastic,
Yeah.
It was fantastic.
The process.
But then I realized, either you're a printer or you're a photographer,
Right.
Plus, I found out that by if I do in black and white, I have to do the prints to send to the magazine. But
Right.
if I do slides, after 2 hours, I get the slides. I can send the slides to.
And they can do it. Yeah.
But I lost a lot of pictures like that because the slide is the original, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't go back and
So
reprint.
there was a time when I was going to do this book called Don't Let the Originals Go.
And then you just stayed, you ended up touring with these guys, which led to your first book, the I Know What I Like.
They went to Italy and they found a mass acceptance, okay?
Right. Was that the first place that they were really accepted?
Belgium as well.
Yeah.
When Peter got married, which was the beginning of beginning of March 1972, they were number one in Belgium. And there was another journalist called Piero Canroll.
Okay.
And who loved Genesis, and Trespass were number one. And then a month later, they went on this tour in Italy, and they were number 4 in the charts.
Yeah.
But as they found mass acceptance straight away, and the band that was number 1. In the book, I have a cut of the magazine with
Right.
the chart.
Yeah.
PFM was number 1.
Okay.
And they admired Genesis so much that they asked the promoter if they could open one of the shows for them,
Wow.
And they became good friends,
Yeah.
Gentle Giant was big in Italy.
Right.
In fact, PFM got the Mellotron from Gentle Giant because they got so pissed off. But the Mellotron used to go out of tune.
Yeah, I've heard the story.
So they left it, and then, I'm in the summer of 71 now. Jeez, what a beautiful summer.
A lot of stuff going on, yeah.
Yeah. And
then, so you became friends with the band and ended up doing a lot of shows
so
with them?
I became, I could go I used to go to see the concert.
Right.
And being friends and stuff that could be backstage. Backstage, They were always fighting. There was nothing, there was never a concert that went well. But there would be Steve and Phil that would go
Steve Hackett,
Steve Hackett and Phil would go to the pub. So I used to join them, And so,
what was going wrong in the shows? The sound or?
I don't know what they were talking about sometimes, But I have these great memories, like the first time they played Supper's Ready.
Yeah.
And there was Peter with the album, and he tried to remember the lyrics, Can you imagine singing Supper's Ready for the first time?
Oh my gosh, such a long song.
And his wife, Jill, they were sweetheart when they were 15, so she was so much behind him, and helping him with everything, even with the lyrics,
Yeah.
And
she ended up helping with the lyrics with Mother of Violence, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And they were a great pair,
Yeah.
When I moved to the States after coming here at the end of December 74, and then come back for Genesis in January 74 for the concert at the Shrine Auditorium on my birthday. So it was like an anniversary of seeing Genesis for the first time on my birthday in 1971.
The Shrine here, right?
And the Shrine here.
Yeah.
I got on a plane, came over, I told Gail, pay me for the ticket, at the hotel, I'll give you all the pictures you need. And unfortunately, that's a sad story because when when Charisma was bought by Virgin,
yes,
all the stuff at Charisma's office got dumped in big trash containers.
Gosh. Your photos?
And in fact, I was hoping that throughout the years, maybe they would pop up. Maybe someone stole them.
Yeah.
And they would say, but then, because, I can't find any pictures of Tony or any pictures of Steve.
Were any of these photos ever published in magazines?
Oh, yeah.
So some of them are out there.
Some of them are there, but even so, it's very difficult because they transformed it into promotional pictures.
Yes.
And there's one particular picture, actually there's two. One I found in Facebook. And the other one, I photographed it and I put it in my Genesis book.
Yeah.
It's a black and white.
Right.
There's Mike moving his tongue, and they did a crop of Mike, and he's in the album Foxtrot.
Oh, okay.
There's my credit there. Armando Gallo. They forgot the R. English can't pronounce the R. Armando Gallo.
And then you ended up doing the cover for Seconds Out years later, right?
Yeah, well, so I came here to do the Lamb, okay, and I moved to Los Angeles after that. That's it, fed up with.
I'm sorry, you came here to do the Lamb, the live shows?
Yeah.
Okay, and where was that, at the Roxy? Where was that?
No, the Lamb at the Shrine Auditorium.
Oh, the Shrine, okay.
January 24, 1975.
Okay.
50 years ago.
Yeah, I was 5 years old.
That's why the box set's coming out now.
I can't wait. Yeah.
Okay.
And we'll talk about that in a minute. Yeah.
Do you have kids?
Yes, we have 2 sons. And 23, 29.
So it's coming out on the 13th of June because the following day, the 14th of June, is Father's Day.
Oh, wow.
They laid it out so your son could buy you the box set. That's the idea behind Concord,
You actually met them, because when I met you at the IO tour,
exactly.
They were with me.
Did I send you the picture?
Yes, yeah.
Oh, good.
One of my kids with Tony, yeah, thank you.
Because I found in a message, can you send me the picture of his kids, And
so you came out here for the Lamb.
I came here for the Lamb, and 2-3 months later, I was thinking to come over, bring my wife and see if she liked it. But in the end, England was going down where, I don't know, in fact, selling England by the pound was really was in a bad period, and tax were getting really silly. So I said, let's go. And we moved to Los Angeles on the 21st of April, 1975. By August, I'm at the Roxy.
Yeah.
I think Steven Steele was playing there. And this guy that knew, he worked for Tower Records in El Toro. And of course, we met a couple of times. He goes, "Hey, Armando, did you hear the news? Peter Gabriel left Genesis." Said, that's not. It was so funny because when before leaving, when I left England,
yes,
Genesis had a big party at the Savoy Hotel they got the gold album for Selling England by the Pound.
Okay.
And then at the end, Phil comes to me and says, "Hey, Armando, I heard you moving to Los Angeles, but I want to tell you something so you don't know it from other people. The news is not out there yet, but I'm getting my own band." And I thought,
this is Phil.
I thought Phil is leaving the band because he already tried to leave Genesis when Bill Bruford left Yes.
Right.
He was he loved Yes,
Yeah.
So I assumed that don't tell anybody. So I moved out here, I'm doing the first week, I'm doing Frank Zappa and Pink Floyd were here.
Pink Floyd, yeah.
At the arena. And then I did, I love you, baby. What's this? Barry White.
Oh, Barry White.
Barry White. And Smokey Robertson.
Wow, you photographed all those guys?
Yeah, in first week,
Wow.
And there was an English band as well called Green Slade.
Okay.
Yeah, and thought America was great, all these possibilities, So come August, and I hear that Peter Gabriel left. No, he got it wrong, man. This is before. There's no internet. There's nothing.
Right.
The news, but I have to call somebody. A telephone was very expensive to call.
Long distance, yeah.
Yeah, and so when the news came out, when I found out, I think it was a cover of Melody Maker where there was this letter,
Yeah.
Crazy letter. And this, fuck. I couldn't believe it,
Yeah.
Plus, I had a column here called California Voice, and the kids, the readers in Italy, they were supposed to write to me, wanted to know who should I interview for them, who should I, and everybody wanted Frank Zappa, and then all of a sudden it was Genesis and Peter Gabriel. Why did he leave Genesis?
Right.
And it was so ridiculous that Peter came over. This is 1975, right? Peter came over at the end of February 1976. Mm-hmm. I had seen Kiss,
right?
And I had a Kiss badge, whatever, And it was so funny. Kiss were produced by
Bob Ezrin, or
yeah, Bob Ezrin, and
who did Peter's album? Right?
Peter,
right?
already met Bob Ezrin, so he asked me about what do you think about Kiss, But anyway, he came over to the house, from spaghetti and pomodoro. He was always a vegetarian, and then we went out and took some pictures around Hollywood Boulevard.
Right. Was that the one where he's sitting on the car?
Yeah.
That's a great photo.
When he sat on the car, something. I'm writing a book about this, but it's not a book about Peter Gabriel. It's becoming a book about myself, probably.
Right.
That came when I was really sick last summer. Mm-hmm. I was in a different dimensions,
Yeah.
And I was putting together a book about Peter Gabriel as a performer, because I photograph every tour,
Yes.
And then I thought, when I was really, I saw the angel of death,
Right.
Really.
Yeah.
But he saw me, I was busy. I wanted to get better, so he left, but at the same time, I thought, the fuck cares about Peter Gabriel? Because I saw my life coming by,
Yes.
And I realized what an amazing life I had,
Absolutely.
And I met so many people that inspired me. Peter was my top hero, but I had so many heroes,
Yeah.
And so, and Peter actually gave me he loved the idea, he called me up just before Christmas,
Yeah.
And it's great when he calls you up because, he's the guy is so busy. If he calls you up, you go, oh my God, this is great. He stayed half an hour on the phone, and he said, you should write from your point of view, because people that you write, people know, but you have to write your emotion when you meet these people, Going back, I'm describing when I was out with Peter that night, at the end of February.
Right.
And when I set him on the car, it was my car, it was a Buick Centurion. And because I thought it was California and the Italian,
I love that.
And but he had told me just a few minutes before, he told me that he was very hard to get a record deal, a publishing deal.
As a solo artist.
Yeah.
Right.
Because
Trick of the Tail.
Trick of the Tail came out.
Right. The first Genesis album without him.
And it was a success.
Yeah.
Right? Because, these guys were boxed in.
Yeah.
But they knew that they could play together because, they did all the music for the Lamb.
Right.
And then Peter came back, and he wrote all the melodies and the lyrics, but they knew they could do it, And
Phil turned out to be a pretty good singer.
But Phil was singing, especially during the Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, where Peter had all this, can you imagine? He had the Slipper Man.
Yeah, the costumes, right?
Where's the fucking microphone, So Phil used to sing for him,
Oh, yeah, when he was stuck in there.
So you hear this, Phil's voice is very similar to Peter at times because he was always doing the backup vocals,
Yeah.
So anyway, Trick of the Tail comes out, and Peter tells me, oh, I don't know, man, there's not many bites. What do you mean not many bites? Probably they think I'm not the writer, so, and then he realized probably he had to prove himself.
Right.
That's why he ended up doing Peter Gabriel.
Right. Naming the album that, yeah.
Like a magazine coming out, and
to make it very clear.
And at that point, I set him on that, and I was playing with a light. There was a light behind his head.
Right.
There was this light that I wanted, so I put this. But it made an aura, that light.
I noticed that. It's almost like a greenish white.
But seeing it live, was really bigger. And I thought, fuck, that's a rock star,
Yeah.
And the passion came out of me, talking about creativity.
Right.
That moment, I decided to write the book.
Yes.
To write the Genesis book.
Yeah.
Because I was there.
Right. You documented all of it.
And they did 5 albums that were amazing.
Right.
And from what Peter had told me, all that would have been lost.
Hi, everybody. I hope you enjoyed part 1 of my podcast with world-renowned photographer Armando Gallo. I'd also greatly appreciate it if you'd like and subscribe to my podcast on whatever streaming service you use. If you have a paying subscription to Creativity is the Cure at buzzsprout.com, you will have access to several extra privileges and bonus content. Thanks for listening. Over, under, out.